any Rumbles in the jungle? Oh, that'd be cool if we saw Rumble jungle. I don't think we will, but Rumble in the jungle could be a thing. A Rain Soul Hover, Aurora. Okay, Aurora.
Oh, Aurora is also a good pick.
Yeah, also a very good pick. Also a very comfortable pick for random as well. So that's going to be going into one of the hands of either random or Patras. We'll have to see what hands that goes into, but most likely will be random. He really likes his mages and his AP assassins that he can get his hands old onto. Why are we doing this? Why are we hovering? Why are we hovering champions that don't exist? Oh, we do get Rao. Okay.
Sorry,
that was not good.
I gotta be careful. So for context, both me and Stuart, after our travels abroad, we come back, and after being used to a very humid and hot climate, we came back to much drier and colder climates. So both of our bodies were put into shock, and my throat is still quite dry, since Utah, where I live, is a desert, literally. So I'll try to be a little bit more conscious about that. But hang on, Rel is locked in. This is our first time seeing a competitive Rel game, at least on a stream that I know about. So I feel like we are part of history in the making here, Stuart.
Yeah, we get to see Rel. I mean, Rel has always been a powerhouse over on PC League for many years now, I feel like, and there's always been one of them playmaking supports that it's kind of like the Nautiluses or, you know, champions like that you can try and get your hands on and make really big plays when it comes to these big massive team fights. But like you said, it's gonna be exciting to see him see her in a competitive environment. On the other side, Lee Sin in the hands of Final Wax, that's definitely a champion you do not want to give over to him, one of his most comfortable champions. And then Josh is going to be picking up the Lucian. So you're already looking at Baguette's side, and you're looking at 3 really big powerhouse picks there.
Poppy locked in. It's a nice answer into the 3 champions being shown by Baguettes. All of them have some form of dash, if not 2 dashes. Looking at you, Mr. Lee Sin. Gonna see if they can put a stop to all that mobility with that steadfast presence. But if I am AG, I really want champions in terms of their damage or follow-up that are AoE, because that will synchronize beautifully with that Magnastorm engage from the Rel. Otherwise, Rel is going to be a great champion that can engage and set up fights for you, but I feel like it will be a missed opportunity if all AG locks in damage profile wise is single target burst. I want some AoE in that pot.
Some AoE to follow up the Rel. I guess you do have the Ezreal, but Ezreal's not really going to be able to do too much, I guess, in terms of the AoE damage. Rumble would have been a good pick, but that gets banned away straight away.
They spotted it. Yep.
Yeah. And the good thing about Baguettes as well is they already have their AP damage source with their Aurora, so they don't really have to worry too much about that one. Brand ban is a little bit interesting. Maybe they just want some more AP damage sources out. I'm thinking of like Mordekaiser is still open, Gwen is still open. I think that was the other pick that you can ban away, and that is going to be banned away. So Baguettes, again, understanding why they need to focus and what damage source they need to focus, which is exactly that. And now it's going to be side of AG now trying to figure out what they can do here to try and get a little bit of the AP damage source out. And Twisted Fate would be quite interesting.
I don't know if I would be a fan. Like, I get it. There's a lot of slippery champions. Okay, there you go. So I could see that they are trying to find a champion that could give them some single target point and click lockdown, because it's a lot of slipperiness from the 3 champions that Baguettes have. But the Rise at least has and boasts a lot of AoE damage if you start racking up the spell fluxes into the overloads there. So I like that adjustment.
Yeah, you do still have the single target lockdown as well from the Rise, which I think is great. But you have that option, as you mentioned, of like you have the AoE damage that can follow up from the Rel, but also you have that lockdown if you want to follow up from something like Poppy or something like Rel engaging. Leona going to be picked up here for Heste. So very aggressive support into the bot side. We talk about the aggression and the playmaker potential of someone like a Rel. Then you have someone like Leona on the other side as well, which just gives you even more aggression, even more craziness. On the other side, we have to see what the other solo lane pick is going to be. It's going to be that Camille. So Baguette really putting up a very beefy, very strong roster of a team composition. Plenty of lockdown, as you mentioned already, Rafa. A lot of slipperiness, a lot of annoyance to try and you know, especially shut down the likes of the Ezreal.
Yeah. Ezreal is the one champion that can get out of a myriad of situations. If this Kale gets locked, I was about to say, guys, Baguettes have a lot of early game strength. If you were to lock in a Kale, that is you just saying, yeah, we don't believe in that early game. They ain't gonna do absolutely jack all with that. And we were gonna scale up for free. And listen, Kale does become an absolute monster if you let her scale up for free. But most competitive teams don't let you do that for free. So the pivot to the Jax makes a lot more sense. I imagine that because you also have a Poppy in this lineup, and since you have spoken out so much against anti-tanks in the jungle, this is probably going to be a Jax in the jungle and the Poppy up against the Camille. I guess it technically could be either of those two in the jungle.
I guess we'll wait and find out. Actually, it's going to be Poppy jungle. Okay. That's going to be very interesting to see. Oh, we're already 2.5, 3 minutes into this game. We're already jumping straight into it.
Catch up on Stuart.
Yeah, not really too sure what's happened in the first couple of minutes, but it is going to be that Aurora in the mid lane for Random, one of his most comfortable picks. You just look on the side of Baguettes and they're all picking a lot of their comfort picks overall as, Rel looking to jump in. Not going to be able to do that much so, but yeah, like I mentioned, a lot of their comfort picks over on Baguettes, and I think it's going to be very, very scary to see what they can actually do here.
Thankfully, no First Bloods have arisen from the first 3.5 minutes here, so it doesn't seem like major summoner spells were burned anytime, or at least if it did happen, it must have been in the very, very first few seconds of the game. So far, both teams playing it cool. But the dive in the mid lane, well executed by Random and Final Wax. That's the First Blood you were looking for.
Yeah, getting this Aurora head is definitely something you want to be able to do, and getting Final Wax to be able to invade and control the enemy's jungle is something that he always loves to do in solo queue. He always wants to try and run around and be a nuisance in the jungle, and as you mentioned, Aurora getting that first kill in the mid lane is going to be great stuff. Not too sure what item Random's actually going for. Maybe Liandry's first item. I guess you have so many tanks with the Rel. The Rise is going to be building a lot of HP as Hestay looking to dive in.
Oh, a little too late on the lockdown follow-up there. Hest might burn down to the Ignite at the very end of the day. English Fitz cleans up one more for AG.
A great pick off there. She's really showing the Rel. You know, if you misstep as the owner, the lockdown from the Rel in the end can be very scary. Speaking of more lockdown, the mid lane, Random getting a little bit caught out, but is going to be able to escape as well. So plenty of action across the map at the moment, and a lot of aggression of these players trying to get picks and trying to get ganks on through. Both junglers looking to be very, very aggressive. As I mentioned, though, I think Random is going for Liandry's first item, which I actually do like the adaptation of this item choice. Normally with Aurora, you go for like full burst damage with Infinity Orb and Death Cap, Awakened Soul Stealer. But understanding you're against the likes of Jax, Poppy's going to build a little bit of tankiness. You have the Rel, who's a tank as well. Liandry's can be a very strong first item to try and break through some of these tanks.
There it is. Random gonna opt in for that extra percentage max HP burn. And the nice thing about that passive of the item, it works so well with her first ability as well, since if you just wait on second casting it instead of just going for the tap, you get a lot more damage in the end. As 667, just making sure that he is establishing lane presence against Dandelion's Camille. We got objectives spawning in the next 12 seconds here, Stu. Curious to see where the priorities lie for both of these squads.
Yeah, I would expect the Baguettes to prioritize the Herald, as they should do, as most teams should do, but knowing the quality and knowing the names on the side of Baguettes, we'll know that they'll just ignore the Dragon, as you usually should do in Wild Rift, because Dragons don't really give you enough stats for you to be able to be useful. But it looks like both the teams are going to be setting up for this Rift Herald. The TP actually comes in quite early from the Jax and might actually get caught out here.
Yeah, Hess tries to lead the charge here, but a nice amount of damage from Random's Aurora does at least allow an equalized trade. 1-for-1 so far. The Poppy goes down. And now here comes the collapse, flashing for final wax, trying to look for the kick, finds the Sonic Wave. It didn't look pretty, but he gets the job done in the end. Dandelion forcing God's favorite back from defending the turret successfully, and is at least able to keep up the turret for now, but the ensemble will be the prize secured for Baguette.
Yeah, Final X might need to warm up his hands a little bit after that one. That was a little bit of a misplay, a miss flash in the end, but maybe just trying to close the gap to try and hit, as you mentioned, hit that Sonic Wave in the end. But you're seeing the kind of power of Rel, though, in these fights, still doing a really, really great job at trying to control these fights and get picks off the side of Baguette, and has found a few really, really good angles. But the one thing with Rel is that when you go in, there's not really a way of you getting out, Rafa. When you're in, you're just, you're fully in. You can't get out, and you have to be very careful, because when you're against the likes of, Leona with the lockdown, with all this burst damage, with so much movement spells for the side of Baguette, it can be quite difficult. But so far, Rel has done a pretty good job to try and get her team far ahead.
That's the same treatment too with Leona. Once you go in, there's no pulling out either, just like prom night all over again, as Baguette's gonna see if they can find a way to wrap around Dragon Pit and set up for the objective. Meanwhile, AG doing their best to at least maintain pressure as well. But the fact that Dandelion has been left alone, isolated on the top side of the map, I don't know if he's going to have enough time to take out this turret completely, but could deal some decent damage with the Divine Thunder procs.
Yeah, it doesn't have the demolish, so it isn't going to be able to take the tower maybe as quickly. Maybe going for something like Scorch or Brutal instead, just to get a little bit more combat power during the lane. But with that Jax going back up as well, both these junglers actually going for Divine Thunder, which again is quite interesting. I think it just shows how many bruisers and tanks are in this matchup. There's not really a lot of burst champions, so both these bruisers in the top side going for more sustain rather than more burst damage. You see a lot in Wild Rift that a lot of players just focus more on burst damage rather than sustain longer due fights. As Final Wax looks to be making a play here into the Jax. Lockdown is there.
Kick into the wall, 667, good night. AG try to collapse in at the reinforcements for their fallen comrade here. As English Fit sets up the Magnet Storm, but there's not enough damage coming through for the rest of AG. There's Pika P, unfortunately, on this Poppy, even with the Trinity Force at his pockets, or at his side, it's still not going to be enough, and the Gets walk out without dropping a single man.
Yeah, not going to be able to pick up anyone there. The tower dive coming on beautifully here for Baguette. 6,000 gold lead right now. You can see the jungle gold lead is getting pretty big, same as the bot lane and also the mid lane lead as well. Both these, all these leads in the for the lanes of Baguettes are getting quite big. You see Ocean Trident now being built for random in the mid lane, so really stopping the shielding from the likes of Rel. You have Stone Plate on Poppy, which is going to be reducing that. And also the Jax is most likely also going to build Stone Plate, so a lot of ways for you to stop down all of the shielding, and just overall a very, very strong item. But now both the teams trying to set up a play potentially in the top side, and Camille does have enough wave clear though to try and slow this down, and will do, but Turkish Slide are not going to stop just yet though.
You can see the desperation in AG. They know that they are down so much gold right now that they have to all in just to take out one opponent. And look, they get the job done eventually, right? Oh. Okay, Dandelion definitely made them work for it. But meanwhile, the Gets are able to force a counterplay on the other side of the... Oh, 667! He definitely rolled triple sevens on that play, able to outplay the 1v2. Eventually goes down to My Little Pony on Lucian, but you know what? I will take that trade all day, every day if you are AG.
A very rare mistake from Random and Final Wax meant the 667 gets the 2-for-1 trade into the top side of the map, which, as you said, he will take any day. Poppy trying to use the ultimate to try and escape, but it's going to be enough. The lockdown, the damage from the Lucian in the end is going to be enough. So overall, it is a 2-for-2 difference. But yeah, incredible play there from the Jax. You're just seeing how difficult it is to lock down the Jax and how much tankiness he can get from his ultimate.
Yeah, just being able to dodge so many auto attacks thanks to the power of that counter strike. I thought that between Random and Lee Sin being mostly ability based, it should have been able to get the job done, but did not happen at the end of the day. Baron, though, has spawned on the map, and the Baguettes are going to forget the Jax incident ever happened and just look to take this objective off the map.
Easy taken away, and you can see the cross map is just going to be a tower wrapper. So, but it is going to be a comeback gold tower. So you do get a little bit of extra gold now from the tower. But yeah, Baron going in the way of Baguette just 11 minutes into this game. Really shows the dominance they are showing early on in this game. Now they're going to look to try and push all the lanes, and you'll be able to see the Baguettes are a team that know how to use their Baron, and they know how to use it effectively. You can see Random already pushing into this top side. You see Camille now going to the bot lane, is going to be pushing that in, and then you'll have the rest of the members in that mid lane pushing that in. So be able to push all 3 lanes at the same time, which is going to be very scary to deal with, because when you get split up, it can be quite annoying to deal with. Look at Random's damage, nearly half the HP of a Jax in one combo.
Yeah, and this is where the teams can just choke and stranglehold another out of the game. Whoa! 3-man kick from Final Wax. Strike for the side of Baguettes. Rolling heads, and the rest of AG are forced to retreat. Flash comes out from English Fits only to delay the inevitable there. Baguettes, meanwhile, continuing the chase on the bottom side of the map. Dandelion in the Baron lane, forcing this Rise to flee the scene. The second turret on the bottom side of the map, and Baguettes just continuing to steamroll this game. Now up nearly 10,000 gold at 12.5 minutes here, Stuart.
Yeah, it's very scary stuff now. You're seeing players going back to base, items being completed, Grudge completed from Lee Sin, the Death Cap completed for Aurora, and the Mortar Reminder as well. So plenty of items being built now, and it just seems like AG in the end were just lining up for Final Wax's ultimate in the end. Like, they were all lining up. They were like, okay, Final Wax, you can get a 3-man kick. We'll be okay with that. We'll be able to survive. But no, they weren't able to in the end. There was just so much damage to be able to deal with. And you're seeing that it can be very scary now for the AG lineup to try and come back into this. They are going to look for a pick here. Actually, he only uses the ultimate defensively this time around. But Rel, that's pretty deep.
Massive knockup. Here we go. Pika P trying to set up the engage, but they have to fight through so many thicker wallets on the side of Baguettes. Dandelion has been isolated, but he's totally just fine. Flashing on top, gets the second proc of that tactical precision, and wipes Rise away from the face of the rift. Here comes Hess to back him up. Dandelion, don't tell me he doesn't even die. He gets the tactical sweep for the extra healing. Baguettes will not drop a single man, and AG are left to 1. God's favorite, but the heavens are not filing down upon him today, as Baguettes will do away with the inhibitor on the top side.
Just say the inhibitor, they won't go for the end just yet. You see that the Nexus shield is still available, so they would be very, very greedy with low health bars as well to try and go for the end. But you're seeing the micro play and the playmaking potential that this Baguette lineup has, and why they have such a star-studded lineup as well. They have so many big names, so many big players that have been around the scene and played Wild Rift ever since the start of the game. These players are always at the top when you look at the rank ladders. They're always at the top when you talk about esports in EMEA and with Purge Tournament as well. And they're showing exactly why in this game, why they're considered some of the best in the game.
Oh boy, 667 was able to outplay the 1v2 last time, but in a 1v3, that ain't happening again. Final Wax gonna try and occupy the top side of the map. Baron is about to spawn, and Final Wax is strong enough to handle himself against 2 other opponents from AG. And with the minion wave starting to pile on up through the bottom side of the map, someone from AG is going to have to answer it, Stuart, and I think that's going to be the triggered pull for Baguettes to start up the Baron.
Exactly that. I think they're just going to start Baron anyway. They know they have control. There's no wards in here at all for AG. They are going to spot it though with the Ezra ultimate. Actually, I think that was the teleport or something from the Poppy in the end, or somehow got in, but there's no way for the Poppy to get into the pits.
Yeah, the Realm Warp attempt by the Rise to at least give Poppy a way into the Baron for a steal, but at the end of the day, Stuart, thick wallets is what makes the world go round, and Baguette's world is spinning all over AG in this game 1. 667, the flash counter-strike, tries to look for it, but the immediate cleanse from Randomito. Oh, the true shot barrage. Well, I was gonna sing his praises, but he does get knocked down in the end, but it is down to one last man once again. Ezreal, is he God's favorite? Is he the chosen one? Gets locked down by the Leona. One more tactical precision, not enough. Maybe divine intervention is at play here. Dandelion tries to flash on forward. God's favorite is able to pick up one, but cannot do it all. The heavens choose Baguettes for game 1.
Yeah, very dominant performance from Baguettes overall. You saw little glimpses of hope there for AG and for the Turkish side, but just overall, incredible play. A few misplays, maybe that tower dive in the bottom side, unfortunately random, and Final Wax both dying to try and kill the Jacks. A few little misplays, but overall, I think you can see the real big difference between both these sides. The Friends are just too strong. They have too many powerhouse names in their lineup, and Baguettes, hey, we all love Baguettes, and we all love how strong they are.
Nothing else to say there, Stuart. Baguette's complete domination straight up from the first blood. There was a couple moments